Hello, everyone. You're listening to Those Other Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory,
I'm Victoria.
and we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values.
Happy weekend, everyone. It's a long
Happy
weekend for
weekend.
me. I'm taking Monday and Tuesday off for my little sister's graduation.
Ooh,
She'll
that's
be graduating
exciting.
from App States. I'm excited and
Ooh,
proud of her.
that's really good. What was her major?
She double majored in biology and math. Yeah.
Good for her.
She wants
Could
to be
not be
like,
me.
I think she wants to do like biostatistics, is kind of roughly what she wants to do. She just wants to do like a lot of research in the lab. And I'm like, because I was like a math major, I just hated biology. I'm like, good for you. Like, she took like orgo and all that fun science crap. So I'm proud of her.
Biology.
It's she like didn't like because like I mean math and biology are like the two hardest majors you can have.
Yeah. And
So
chemistry.
kudos to her. She's worked hard and now she's welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna
Yeah.
love it.
Remember that ain't it fun? Ain't it fun?
What is that from?
Paramore, that Paramore song. Okay, wait. I want to
Yes, yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes, I know what you're
I
talking about. Well, mine
Yes.
mine is like from the first episode of Friends. She goes, "Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it."
Oh, that was in the first episode of Friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
Are
funny.
you a Friends person? I don't
I'm
think we've ever
not.
talked. Ugh, I don't know how
I
we're friends.
I know. I do not
I
like I
watch
don't
it
find it
every
funny.
single night. That's like I got HBO Max to watch Friends and Big Bang Theory. And that's
Okay.
pretty much
Oh,
well, and it actually turned out to be a great purchase. Was like after I purchased it is when they started just transitioning me like screw it. Whatever goes in theaters, we're just gonna put on HBO Max, which has been
I
great.
I love HBO. Like now, I hate this with every fiber of my being, but now I feel like I have to have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu and HBO Max. Like I
For
have to.
me, yeah, for me it's HBO Max, Hulu, and Disney. I just started, so I'm watching Private Practice because I'm sick. I love Grey's Anatomy. Sick of this season. I only stayed on this season and see if Meredith Grey lives, but I miss them just like not dealing with COVID patients every episode. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't watched Private Practice. It was a spinoff. It's only like a couple seasons.
Wait, Private Practice, is that
That was the
um
one with
they're lawyers, right?
no, no, no,
Then
no,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
no. What was the lawyers? How to Get Away with
I'm thinking of
Murder?
the practice is what I'm thinking of. It was like this old show that like I was in middle school watching that like
Oh,
old people watched. It yeah, I forget I said that. I liked it, but
yeah.
it was old. How to Get Away with Murder, I'm actually rewatching now. And
Okay, I haven't seen that. I've seen Scandal. Love
Scandal's
Scandal.
good up until
I'm
the
not.
last season.
Yeah, I didn't like the last season because I'm like, this isn't Olivia Pope.
Right. Not only was it not Olivia Pope, it also like, and she did this with How to Get Away with Murder with the How to Get Away with Murder last season. It stopped being about like their cases and started being about all the drama amongst them. I'm like, I don't care about that. I like the
Yeah,
cases. Like
yeah.
that's why I like Law and Order. I have been watching Law and Order, but Law and Order lately has been the same thing probably with Grey's Anatomy. People are wearing masks and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is, but like I also kind of don't want to
Well, at
see that.
least
Like
like
escapism.
yeah, well, at least Law and Order, they have like different cases. Like for the most part, Grey's has just been, is Meredith Grey going to survive COVID or not?
Oh.
And it's like dealing with COVID cases and like they've had some like a few medical mysteries, but like every episode, at least they're dealing with one person that has had COVID.
See,
And
yeah.
it's like, I'm just like, I miss the old
Just
grades. Like, I get it.
regular,
And I will
yeah.
say, I have friends that are nurses. And if you do want a perspective of what it was like during like the epicenter of like COVID, they said Grey's Anatomy is probably the most realistic of all the medical shows on how it actually felt to be a nurse in COVID.
Hmm. Well, I hate that not to be insensitive, but I don't want to know what it was like because it seems awful. But
Yeah.
good to know that if I
It,
want to, I should watch Grey's Anatomy. What Law and Order has done, so Law and Order, they will take headlines pretty much, and then make episodes about them. So this season they did an episode where this lady, well, I don't know if this was a headline, but this lady, she lost her job, or like she had a restaurant she worked really hard for, and then her husband, because of COVID, her husband left her. Her son was in college. Well, he left her because they quit the job and they realized that they weren't working anymore. And then he went to go check on his family, his parents, and he was like, I'm not coming back. And then she had a son that was in college. You know, college kids are going back and forth. Well, he supposedly brought back COVID and killed her mom. So she called him a killer, and she was all down on her luck. Well, anyway, she goes to the restaurant and they're like, hey, you haven't paid rent, like we're closing your shop or whatever. She goes and she pulls out a gun and like she holds everybody hostage. And then I don't know how I felt about the end, but at the end, like she comes on out and everything, she didn't kill anybody, everything's fine, but everybody's clapping, yeah, and like they started a GoFundMe for her, and I was just kind of like, she had a mental breakdown. I don't know if we should be like praising this. She like held people hostage. I don't know if this is the right reaction. I don't know how I felt about it. It was just weird.
Because I feel like you're just telling people, like, you can hold people hostage, don't shoot them, and we're gonna give you money.
Yeah, that was kind of the vibe. I was like, I don't think this is the right response. Like, this doesn't, like, but Law and Order is super liberal. They did an episode.
I mean, so did Grey's. Like, they had this whole episode that drove me crazy. It was a Black Lives Matter and a conservative that believed that COVID was a hoax come in with COVID and refused to wear a mask and all this stuff. And it was like they just took it too far on, and like you could clearly tell it's a Republican.
Yeah.
That was like, and well, it made me so mad. And like I only stayed on to see if Meredith Grey lives. And it just like pissed me off because it was like I didn't need this storyline. Like, fine, you can have the BLM all lines you want to talk about protesters getting hurt and then coming into the hospital, but this seemed very unrealistic to me.
Yeah, I really hate how they portray conservatives. In Law and Order, they did an episode, I don't know if it was another recent episode where they referenced January 6th. Like this person was at January 6th at the at the insurrection or whatever you want to call it. And this part was like unrealistic and it was so stupid. And I was like, this definitely was written by someone who has no idea what happens in these chats. This guy who was in the storyline, he was there on January 6th. He's a white supremacist. He kidnaps this Black woman and he tortures her. He like puts a bid up to torture her on the dark web and calls her a negress, like a feisty negress. And I was like, I don't know much about white supremacists, but I feel as if they're not calling people negresses. I feel like that just doesn't sound realistic to me. I mean, I could be wrong. I've never been in any of these chats, but whoever wrote this, I doubt they have either. It was just like a weird, like, and they were like trying to tie it in. And, it was obviously someone evil. Like, it was clearly wasn't like one of those things where it was kind of like, oh, maybe he had a little bit of a point. He didn't have a point at all, but it was just like a weird, like, trying to do a broad brush over everything. But really quick, speaking of good shows, I really want to talk 2 seconds about this show, you guys. It's called Invincible. If you're into superhero stuff, it is on Amazon Prime. It is super good. I was talking a little bit to Victoria about it earlier. I just want you to see the first episode and then message me. If you're listening, watch the first episode and then message me. Don't watch with children because it's an adult superhero show. It's a cartoon, so obviously there's no like sex stuff, but it's feisty. But the first episode, please everyone watch it. It is so crazy and it's so good, and like it makes me, oh my gosh, okay. If you're watching, you see Sebastian comes in, and for whatever reason, I thought I was looking at my camera, and I almost like had a panic attack, like someone was coming into my room, and like if you see me, I'm Black and Sebastian's white, so obviously he's not anybody from my family, and I had like a mini heart attack. Oh my gosh. Whew, okay. Oh my, like, no, seriously, like, my heart is still beating kind of fast. That scared me. I just, in my head, I'm like looking at the thing, and it's like, oh my gosh, this random person is in my house. Okay. Probably because I've been watching stuff like Invincible. Yeah, I should
Now
watch
I've been
it.
watching too much true crime.
Yeah. I'm podcasts too. I have been listening to Crime Junkie a lot. I heard a new perspective of the Madeline McCain story. Apparently they found her killer, but I still think it's the parents. But anyway. You know the little girl in London with the blonde hair.
I recognize the name.
Oh, are you just not you're not a crime junkie? You're not a
The
web
only
sleuth?
ones I've listened to are political related, like JFK's murder and Nixon
Amanda
and
Knox.
Clinton. Oh,
Amanda
I was
Knox
big
was
into
kind
hers.
of political.
I was
Yeah.
big into hers when that came out, and then like Casey Anderson.
Casey Anthony.
That's it.
Okay. 2 questions, and then we should get into it. First one, do you think Amanda Knox did it?
I don't think so.
Really? Wait, why?
I don't know. I just never thought she did it. But I was also young, but I just feel like I remember seeing it like a Lifetime movie.
Maybe, probably.
Yeah, I don't think she did it. I think she was just in shock is why she acted the way she acted. So I think it was like, isn't it implied that her boyfriend did it or something? Or
I think that it was like a random guy that one of them met, like to have uplift sex, something like that, did it. I think that's because I'm pretty sure someone is in jail for being an accessory now. Well, yeah. So I was on the fence, to be honest. I was on the fence, but then she did a documentary on Netflix a couple years ago, and I don't know why, but her behavior like made me think it was her. Like, really? I think it was, yeah. Like, the documentary convinced me it was her. Before I was like, I don't think so, probably not. But then I saw it, and then the way she was acting, I was like, nah, girl, you did it.
Okay.
And then
Casey Anthony.
Okay, so I think Casey Anthony definitely did it. I don't understand why
I was
she
old
got
enough.
off.
So I wasn't old enough for Amanda Knox, but I was old enough for Casey Anthony, and I like not really watched, but like I watched the recaps of the trial, and and I remember that summer it happened, like the trial.
Me too.
And I think we were like, it was like July 4th week, if I recall.
Oh, I don't remember it that well, but okay.
Oh, because we went to the lake. And I just remember watching at the lake.
Yeah. So. I was shocked she was found in. Like, I don't understand.
I think they just said there wasn't enough evidence. But I'm like, she Googled essentially how the little girl died.
Yeah. And didn't they didn't they like pick up the scent of death in her trunk or something like that? Like,
yeah.
I did not understand that, but I honestly would love to do a true crime episode. If you guys think that'd be cool, let me know. We could do a deep dive into, I don't know, we don't have to, but I love that stuff. Like I spend a lot of my podcast hours listening to that. Anyway, Vic, let's get started because it's been like 20 minutes.
Yep, and this another crazy week.
Yes.
All right, so these are the craziest stories that have happened this week that we believe you guys need to know. First story, Josh Duggar had porn detection software on his computer that sent reports to wife Anna. Federal investigators said they discovered a software program on Josh Duggar's computer that monitored internet usage and reported it to his wife. The findings were detailed during the disgraced TLC Star hearing on Wednesday. Sorry, that's where Arkansas Judge Christy Comstock ruled Duggar was granted bail and will not have to sit in a jail cell until his trial in his federal child pornography case. During the 4-hour hearing, federal agent Gerald Faulkner said a monitoring program that sent reports to Duggar's wife Anna about his activity had been installed on the computer, but the images and videos were downloaded after additional software had been installed that allowed him to download them without being monitored. What a
Okay, so many thoughts. Creepy, disgusting, and I think So we've talked about this off camera before, and I do personally, I love the idea of having that software program. I think that's good. If I ever get married, that I want my husband to have that. And so you, like, my understanding is you have that software and you use it and you have the person monitoring it be your like accountability partner, which is another man at your church. You don't have it be your wife, because that's how you keep things inside. And part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is because I do think as a church we need to do better at, like, part of the reason why I'm just speculating, I don't know them, but this is what I'm assuming. A porn addiction is there's so much shame attached to that, and because it is wrong, but there's another aspect of, there's just so much shame attached to it. And I think that it should not necessarily have shame in the sense of, like, you have to tell somebody, because that's the only way you can only heal from that through God. And the only way to get the healing, the proper healing, the help you need, is telling someone who can help you. And so there needs to be a level of, like, I guess, of humility, I guess. It's shame that's attached to it that can only be cured with humility. And I think part of the problem was they didn't tell anybody. Like, nobody knew, or they didn't share this, obviously. So they kept it in-house. When you keep things in-house, that's when things fester and grow. So now he has child pornography. And then how sleazy is it that he had an additional software added to his, like, that's so, and that also too, like, there's a difference between making huge mistakes and being repentant. Like, that's not a repentant heart. So, like, that also, yeah. I'm not the type of person who says whether someone will go to heaven or hell. I know there's Christians that'll say that. I don't say that because I don't know people's hearts. I don't know what's going to happen between now and then. But I can tell by someone's fruit, and the fruit on this tree, this type of behavior is an unrepentant heart, and that is what can keep you from experiencing, a right relationship with God. And that is just, I mean, gosh, and I don't want to judge Anna, but low key, I mean, you can't go back. Like,
I don't think she has a choice. Like, I don't think they believe in divorce.
They don't. And, like, and the other problem is she doesn't have any, like, this is just me being honest. I always try to be honest on this show and share my opinions. This also makes me nervous as a single person, in the sense of, like, eventually getting married, because I'm sure that she did not think any of this would happen. Like, this is not like no one plans this. So it feels as if you don't really know who you're with, and then that makes you not want to put all of your eggs in one basket. Like, it feels like you almost have to have, like, an escape plan in case something like this happens. But you shouldn't. But in my head, I'm like, but you shouldn't do that, because if you do that, you're kind of already setting yourself up for that to happen. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what do you do? Like, she has no money. She doesn't have a job. She has no money. Yeah. Like, all the money comes from him.
I would assume she'd at least get half and child support.
Yeah.
If they do divorce, but she would probably definitely write a tell-all book, to be honest. Make some good money.
Yeah. I mean,
probably TLC would have her on a show. It's like, my husband was addicted to porn.
I mean, I guess when you think about that, I don't know. That's just such a tough situation, and my heart really goes out to her and the kids, and all the kids that were like.
Can you imagine though? Like, I just can't even imagine as a mother. Like, how do you ever feel comfortable with your husband around your kids?
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't
the
be able
fact
to.
that I don't know if they got married before it came out how he hurt his sisters.
Yeah.
But even then, like, why would you still have kids with him?
I know. I think of that because, and not only has she had kids, she's had kids.
Like, she's on 7th. Like, she's pregnant with their 7th kid.
Yeah. Like, what? I have no idea. Like, and I try not. And I'm trying to think from because they're fundamentalists. So I'm trying to think from, like, that perspective. they like your life is wrapped around this man. And he probably, I mean, I feel like guys like that are probably very smooth. Like,
and I
feel like,
wonder if it was like not like knocking like the way they live or anything, but I wonder because it definitely seems they do definitely favor men in this society. And
sure.
I wonder if that's caused an increase in this for him. Like it's caused like issues because I mean the daughters were even saying like the daughters that he like took advantage of were even saying our parents kept him safe, but not us.
Yeah.
They did what they can. Like our parents were the ones that dropped the charges against him and didn't do it. Like, and they like helped and not, enabled the situation for it to get this bad.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely a huge problem because I do think in this type of society, men are not necessarily held accountable for things because they just want to, we'll just pray for it. We'll sweep it under the rug. Like, oh no, it's just, let's just pray for his heart. And I think that, on like the other problem is, let's say, and I know this because I've seen this happen to someone in the church that I belong to. Some pastors are incredibly against divorce, which they should be. Divorce should never be praised. Like, it's not a good thing. I only think of, I don't think the Bible says divorce is only okay if it's physical abuse. So I'm not saying it's okay but what I'm saying is like, I know that churches are so much against divorce that they will tell women to like stick with even sometimes physical abuse or like, sometimes cheating. Like sometimes they'll say just people mess up, you got to show him grace. And like, I would go with what the Bible says.
I mean, we talked about like Jana Kramer's and how her husband's a sex addict and she's a country music star actress.
Oh yeah.
And he
once a cheater, always a cheater.
Yeah, he had a sex addiction, cheated on her. They separated. She goes, "No, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight for this. I want my marriage to work." And they've been fighting. Essentially, like she, like sacrificed herself really, and like her feelings because she wanted to fight for her kids.
Yeah.
And then they wrote a book. They like worked on his addiction together, and he still cheated on her.
And that is like, that's what's so hard. And then also too, like, I feel like that is someone who's unrepentant. And like, here's another aspect of,
and if y'all have seen Jana Kramer, you'd be like, why the heck would you ever cheat on her? She's drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, when you told me about her, I looked her up. She's beautiful. And like, I think that, so then here's another aspect. I had a friend that was going through a divorce that would talk about this. Technically, if for instances, if you do go through a divorce, you're not supposed to get remarried because that would be adultery. And if you do get remarried, you're living in adultery and you're continually living in adultery, and that's like an unrepentant sin. That's interpretation.
I know that's how the Catholic Church looks at it. Now you can get your marriage annulled, but that's only if I think
you haven't had sex. I think
no. If you don't get married in the Catholic Church and like you're Catholic but your spouse isn't, because the Catholic Church doesn't honor the marriage unless you get married in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and like that is biblical. So like, it's not like it's just like a little funny thing to say. Like, that's biblical. And I think that's I don't even really know how we got down this line, but I feel like that.
Well, we're talking about Anna Duggar and like her.
Yeah, and divorce. Yeah, and I mean, if she doesn't want, she can also just not get remarried. Like if she just did not get remarried,
separate and never get a divorce, technically.
Yeah, and that would possibly be. I don't know. Like I'd probably get a divorce because Well, I'd have to check biblically to see. I'm in a Facebook group, and every pop culture thing, they always have like a bunch of scriptures and like, this is why it's God, this is why it's not God. And someone said, I didn't finish reading the comment, but they said like she has the biblical grounds to get a divorce. So like I would have to look at it biblically. Because
Can
that's
you
just
imagine they're going through a pregnancy with this?
That's why I feel the worst for her, because she's carrying another child. I know she's stressed. She probably isn't sleeping. How's she even eating? I know if I was this stressed, I wouldn't eat. Like, there's been 2 times in my life where I did not eat, and it definitely was not to this level of stress. Yeah. I cannot imagine. Like, gosh, Lord, be with her, please.
Yeah. I know you were mentioning because he can't go home to his wife and kids. He's not staying with them.
Yes.
And that's court ordered, is my understanding.
Yes, he's not allowed to go home and stay with them. So this is what I read, y'all. He is staying with a couple from their church that their dad begged for Josh to stay at their house. His dad begged this couple. Here's the problem.
The dad needs to get out of it. The parents need to get out of it. He needs to learn.
I'm side-eyeing the parents. I'm side-eyeing the parents because he has had issues since he was when he was younger. Now he's an adult, so at this point he needs to take responsibility. But like this festered, and like one thing about like raising kids this way, which isn't necessarily like the girls are fine, so like I'm not necessarily knocking how you raise kids this way, but I have noticed a lot of kids that are like kind of homeschooled in the small bubble. Their maturity level is very different. And I'm not knocking those people because I was like that. Like if I had not gone to New Jersey, my maturity level would be off like way, like I would not be the person I am. So his maturity level probably stops at a certain age because of his parents. Because the reality is you haven't had a lot of experience, which is not a bad thing. Like if I had stayed here and like had not gone to New Jersey, I would not have had so many experiences that have made me the person I am today and have like created the Mallory before you, which would not necessarily be a bad thing or a good thing. It just would be a different Mallory and a different timeline. I didn't go and I'm a different person. But anyway, all this to say, their influence, them, like this festered. Like this was not like, you don't just jump into child porn. There's so many other things before then. And if he's had issues when he was younger, then like this is, I'm side-eyeing the parents. Like, and so anyway, so the dad asked this couple if they could live together, if he could live with them, right? Here's the kicker. The wife is a piano teacher to kids, okay? And because she's a piano teacher to the kids, she cannot like the kids can't come to their house anymore because he can't be around kids. And she apparently is very uncomfortable with it because, I mean, who wouldn't be? He's a sexual deviant. He's a sexual deviant. And the husband is just like, yeah, spending all day with this man, the sexual deviant. So she's uncomfortable with it. So apparently on the stand, this is all secondhand knowledge, y'all, just an FYI. So apparently on the stand, they ask her, are you okay with this? And she goes, yes, because she goes, well, my husband thinks this is the best thing, so I'm going to go along with him, which biblically you're supposed to do. But here's the thing with submission, y'all. And I always preface this because I don't want people to be like, if Mallory thinks she knows everything, she's not even married. I'm not married, but from my understanding from reading the Bible and like listening to podcasts, everything, yes, your husband says to do it, you do it, but ideally you wouldn't marry someone that would completely like not care about your well-being. So that's where, and that's how submission and things like that have gotten such a bad rep, because it's all of these guys that are just not caring about their wives that are abusing them. They take advantage of it. Exactly.
They abuse all these power.
Exactly. So that's why like submission, stuff like that gets such a bad rep. when the reality is, you know, a good husband, a husband that is submitted to God, would have understood, you know what, I have a wife that I want her to feel comfortable. This man is a sexual deviant. I'm not going to allow some sort of sexual deviant into my home with my wife by herself. You know, like, that's just not. But yeah, that was another crazy aspect of the story. I mean, this whole thing is just so crazy and it's so disappointing. It's just, and I really like to talk about this, not because I like the topic, because I like to talk about, it's something that has happened in the Christian culture and we have to address certain things. And, you know, you guys are going to listen to eventually an episode, we talk a little bit about sex and like
Tuesday's
periods.
episode.
Yes, you're going to hear all that stuff, sex and period, stuff like that. And like, these are things that we should be addressing. Like, we need to talk about like how we can improve, and like, are we going by the Bible? Have we strayed from biblical principles? And I think that's why this topic is so important.
Yep. All right. Our next story is the 55th Safe Haven baby box in Indiana. New Safe Haven baby box in Indiana marks 55th in the state, ready to save more lives. The 55th Safe Haven baby box in Indiana, the 63rd in the U.S., opened on April 30th, giving local infants and their desperate parents a chance at a safe surrender. According to WTHR, the baby box is located at a fire station. It was funded by several community groups and will allow any parent to safely and anonymously surrender a newborn up to 30 days, no questions asked. Safe Haven baby boxes recently went viral on TikTok with a video featuring founder Monica Kelsey demonstrating how the boxes work. For parents who want to surrender their children, they simply go to the baby box, which is typically located at a safe location, like a fire department or hospital. They simply open the door, place their child inside, take the orange bag that's left inside, shut the door, and walk away. The orange bag has resources for parents who surrender their child, and once the door is closed, a silent alarm is activated. Inside the safe location, first responders secure the baby and take him or her to a hospital to be evaluated. The inside of the box is climate controlled and secure and allows parents to make a loving choice when they feel they aren't capable of caring for their children.
I love that idea. That is so good. So just to tell you guys what a baby box is, just to make it clear, I got a definition off of the website. So the baby box, they're a safety device under the Safe Haven law, and it legally permits a mother to safely, secure, anonymously surrender the care of their newborn. It is installed in the exterior. Okay, this is basically in the article. But yeah, you guys get it at this point. I probably should have read the thing more. Anyway, you guys get it at this point. I love that idea. I think what would be a fun project to do is, those are the girls, is to see if we could get one in North Carolina. There isn't one in North Carolina. I mean, obviously we won't do this tomorrow, but I love this idea. I think this is so great. And I mean, why aren't they everywhere?
Yeah, I agree. How do you get one?
I think, I'm sure there's so much red tape involved because okay, so here's the other thing too. Like, I think you can also just drop a baby off at a hospital. But I like the Safe Haven box because I feel like that's a little bit more accessible. And if you drop it, it's more anonymous. Because I think part of the problem is the anonymity. Like, I think people really want to be anonymous. And if you just be like, oh, here's my baby at the hospital, it's not, it's not the same.
Because I think there's recently a baby was surrendered, I think, in Indiana recently, to be honest. And I think, like, in some states you have up to like 60 days after birth where you can surrender the baby.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was Real Life or Law and Order episode, but I think it was like some states you can do up to like 12 years old. And like people drop off like they're like preteens, which is so sad to me. I mean,
This kid's
Okay,
getting bratty. I'm dropping him off at the safe haven.
I mean, and when I think about it, it has to be either a mother who is like at her wit's end, like because her child might have like mental health issues that she can't deal with, or it's just like a neglectful parent.
This
If
kid
they're
is
like
failing
12,
out of school. He won't stop playing video games. I'm dropping him off at the safe haven.
Yeah, like at 12, that's a little, and to be honest, if you're doing that, like no matter the reason, I think it's probably best to not
And that's
have
what
your
they were
child in
saying.
custody.
All joking aside, if the parent doesn't feel like they have the ability to take care of their child, then give that child a better life. Like, do what you can.
And
all joking aside.
Yeah, and I mean it's a brave thing to do, because I mean that's very humbling to say I had this child and now I can't do it. That's very humbling. And there's and what like I think is so beautiful about it, there's so many people who want children who can't have children. And I know that IVF is very controversial in the Christian community. I'm just speaking specifically to Christians. So people aren't even like doing things, so they want to adopt. And you know, these type of things are just, I think those help with the culture of life.
We need to do better too at making it easier to adopt a lot. There needs I know there needs to be red tape, like don't get me wrong, there needs to be guidelines, but why does it have to be like tens of thousands of dollars?
That's
that I don't get.
There's so many I know it was this lady that I volunteered with, and she was telling me about like her process, and like they were nervous because they aren't filthy rich. But I mean, when I tell you, this woman, she was an amazing mom. Her family, she had a very good family life. Like it would be an honor to be her child, but they didn't have a lot of money. She was telling me how she's like kind of nervous about like whether they would still get picked. And it's like, what really should be evaluated is like how, like obviously the money aspect is important too, because like, you know, you don't want to, well, but then again, if they're getting love and taken care of, I guess they're really like they could be the poorest.
Well, I don't understand.
They're being loved and taken care of.
Yeah, I don't understand too is if you do the foster to adopt route, it's still like the same price as if you just go straight adoption.
Well, foster to adopt though, you do get money for the child.
Yeah, but it's not that much. Like
no, it's
like you're still. Well, I'm saying like if you decide to adopt that foster child, why is it still like tens of thousands of dollars and like 2-year like why is it such a long process?
That's fair. Yeah.
That I don't like. I would imagine it. In my opinion, I think should be cheaper if you do the foster adopt route.
Yeah,
like I don't see why it's still as expensive. I don't see why adoption is as expensive. Like why are we as a country funding abortions, but we're not subsidizing adoptions?
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking my exact questions. I think it should be easier because I'm telling you, there's so many families, so many people who would love to open their hearts and their homes for children.
Yeah.
And there's so many children who need, like, we need to redo our foster care system in general. But I mean, there's so many children out there who need someone to love them. And I think that, you know, as pro-lifers, some stuff like this is something we need to get behind, and we also need to get behind like adoption reform. So I do think it'd be fun eventually to do a project.
Find someone that deals with the adoption process to come on and talk to us.
Yeah, we should. If you or someone you know has been wronged by Johnson. Okay. If you or someone you know is a adoption person.
If you've like done the adoption process or an advocate.
Yes, if you've done the adoption process.
Let's chat.
Yeah.
Someone you know.
Well, one of my friends has started a nonprofit. It's called No Such Thing as Unplanned, and it is about adoption, but I don't think they go for like that aspect. But I did want to have her come on, and she talks about she was adopted, and she was hopefully she'll be on one day and she can talk about like from that other aspect of being the child. But we would love to have someone talk about it, like going through the process and like how it was, what they think could be improved upon, how we could possibly help, who do we need to talk to, like do we need to send a letter to somebody saying that those are the girls, like as in like when I say those are the girls, I'm talking about like all of us, like me, Vic, and like everybody listening. Like it's a group of us that want to make a change. How do we do this? Like that would be really cool if we could do something like that.
Yep. Well, speaking of abortions, the North Carolina House passed an abortion restrictions bill Thursday that Republicans say would protect both civil rights and people with disabilities. The bill, which was backed by 6 mostly moderate Democrats, now heads to the Republican-controlled Senate. If signed into law, House Bill 453 would ban physicians from performing abortions because of race or sex, or because the fetus is suspected to have Down syndrome. The push for the legislation puts North Carolina at the forefront as a possible new frontier in the battle over abortion rights, just weeks after a U.S. appeal court moved to uphold a similar law in Ohio. That case will now go to the U.S. Supreme Court, which, with a 6-3 conservative majority, could also move to uphold the ruling. So
Yay.
I think I sent this to you because I saw this there's a page called Greater Greensboro Politics, which is very left, very progressive, and they were complaining about it, telling people you need to call because this doesn't really, they're saying it doesn't really protect people with disabilities or people of race. And I'm like, how
it literally prevents their death.
It literally prevents their death. Like, I just don't get how anyone who is like, even people who are anti-abortion, why would you hate this bill?
That, and I would love to, so 2 things I love the channel to start doing. I would love to talk to people on the other side just to hear like what is their reasoning, and I would love to have debates on here, like not us debating, but like get 2 people, like I don't know, 2 people opposite sides of the debate. But I really would like to know the reasoning. Like even if you are pro-abortion, pro-choice, or however, even if you're one of those I don't think abortion's for me type people, I really want to know how you could be against this. It's literally discrimination. It prevents, the line says
discrimination.
It prevents if the fetus is suspected of having Down, like that. Shouldn't we all be pro that? Like we should all be pro, like if you are against discrimination, why would you want someone to be killed because of their race, sex, or because of a mental disability? Like,
did I send you, oh God, what is his name? Let me pull this up real quick. There is a guy, he was on the Skinny Confidential podcast. He was born with no arms and no legs. He's an Australian guy. His name's like Nick something. Let me look. Because and he's written a lot of books, has kids, like has lived a full life. His name is almost there. What is his name? Nick Vujicic. Last name Vulicic. He's Australian born. He was on the Skinny Confidential, so he literally has no arms and no legs. And the doctor, when he was born, the doctor pulled him out and saw what, like, the dysformity, and told his mom, he goes, I am so sorry. If we had caught this sooner, we would have aborted him.
Oh wow.
And he tells that story. And he's
on
like,
the Skinny Confidential?
Yeah.
Oh, I love when people are like subtly pro-life.
Yeah. And I think they're subtly Republican.
But I think they are too.
Yeah.
When people say they don't want to talk about politics, usually it's because they're Republican.
Yeah.
Not to out y'all. If y'all even listen, but anyway, keep going.
But I thought it was like a beautiful story, and it's like he's like, I've lived a full life. I went to school, I got a degree, I have kids, like they're my biological kids. Like he's like, I can have sex with my wife, believe it or not. Like I'm married, I'm an inspirational speaker, I've written books, like I have this full life. But if the doctors had caught it, I would not be here today.
Wow.
And it's like a testament, and it's like it
That's
kills
beautiful.
me that people look at people with Down syndrome and go, "You're not worthy. You will never have a life." And like
Yeah.
that's not the case at all. People with
No.
special needs, people with autism, people that are wheelchair bound, people with special or Down syndrome, they can live a full life. And it may be different than the life you picture for yourself, but they can live a full life. And it's honestly the way they look at life. I just want think of like, why wouldn't you want that?
Right.
Like how they live life, like why wouldn't you want to experience that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is such it is sad to me how we as society have changed in the sense of like valuing life and value, like I feel as if this is just part of a lot of times people who are like pro abortion in this aspect are like this because they themselves don't like life and don't value life and they don't think it's
Mm-mm.
worth it. So they're kind of projecting onto other people.
Mm.
And I think that's really sad. And I think part of that has to do with just so many other problems that we have in society. But I really think that when people are or like when people use the poverty argument, I think a lot of it is just people projecting. They hate life in general and they're projecting and they themselves think that it will be better. I mean, maybe like a year ago on my Bumble profile, I had like something about being pro-life and some guy messaged me was like, well, what do you mean you're pro-life? And I was like, well, I believe that life is valuable, womb to tomb, ready for a fight. And he was like, yeah, well, it actually would have been better if my mother aborted me. And he like started telling me his whole life story. And I was like, well, I'm so sorry. I'm going on match right now because you're getting very upset, which, sounds like he had a very tough life. But my whole point is like, and that's why he's pro-abortion, because he had such a terrible life. And like people, and
I
I don't know this man. I think that he's projecting and like he hasn't been able to get out of like how terrible his life was and how terrible his mom was to him. He's not able to do that. So then he's projecting that on other kids that could be in a similar situation.
mm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just it hurts me that he can't look at life in a positive aspect. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you've had a tough life, but like you have a life. You can make
Yeah.
that decision that you want to live a good, happy life and learn from your mom's mistakes.
Exactly. And another thing that like has helped me, like I went through a very hard time and my brother used to say this to me and I used to be annoyed, but like it really has helped me. It's like at the end of the day, like everybody is going through a hard time right now.
Yeah.
Like with the whole breakup thing, my brother's like, you're not the only person in the world who's been broken up with. Like you do realize you're not unique. And obviously that's like, dang, thanks for humbling me. But his whole point is like, and sorry to the man that messaged me, but like that's really sad that all of those things happen to you. But like you also have to realize like that is life. We live in a fallen and a broken world, which is another thing that I think a lot of people too have this idea of utopia. And that is one thing that I know in myself. Like I've had to work on because I had an idea of like life is supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to live your best life now, X, Y, and Z. But we live in a fallen world. And if you have that mindset, your life is always supposed to be so much better. You're going to, when things happen, it's going to hit you a lot worse than it should. And
Yeah.
that's something I had to learn. And I mean, I learned this like a couple months ago. Like it's not like I've known this for years. And like I think people have that mindset. And once again, that like spills over into their beliefs about life and about abortion and all these things. And I think these conversations are so important. And if you want to help us to continue to have these conversations, you should consider donating to us. If you head over to our website and you can click donate here, what your donation will go to is helping us pay for the website, helping us pay for the Instagram, not Instagram, for the RSS feed that we use for the podcast. It's also going to help us pay to do so many other things. We have like a lot of plans. We've talked about the magazine before. Like I want to do more YouTube videos. I want to get more software. I want to get more people on board eventually. And your money, if you donate, helps us to do that. And $5 here, $10 there really does make a difference. Like we really, really would appreciate if you would consider that. Those Are the Girls, as I've mentioned so many other times, is more than just me and Vic. Like it is so much bigger than us. It's a community. Not only is it community, this is a thing that's a long-term thing. Like this isn't just a little fun project I'm gonna do until, I become, I don't know, I was going to say the president, but that's not in my, do not want that. Do not ever put that on me. But, it's not just some little fun project I'm doing just until I find something else. This is something that I want to be long-term. It's something that I want to pass down to somebody one day. Like this is bigger. This is a community. This is something important, something that's going to affect people. And thank you everyone so much that has listened and stuck with us and has stuck with us from the very beginning, and that has bought merch and things like that. Thank you so much. So if you really do enjoy this and you enjoy conversations like this, and if you think we should keep this up, a donation will be very beneficial.
Yep.
All right, Vic, what's our next story?
All right, Florida teen accused of rigging homecoming queen vote with mom charged as an adult. A teen charged as an adult has pleaded not guilty, which I'm very surprised she's pleaded not guilty, has pleaded not guilty to multiple felony counts stemming from a Florida high school homecoming queen contest that prosecutors allege her and her mother rigged by hacking into a school district computer system. Well, I've heard people's opinions on this, and the only reason why, like, if it was paper ballots, like, she would just be suspended. But because they hacked into the computer system, that is why it's, like, a crime and it's gone to, like, court.
Yeah, and, like, I think she's pleading not guilty because they want to put it all on the mom,
yeah,
parent and everything. But, like, why I want to talk about this is because it has a misleading title. Because when I first heard the story, like I read the title at first for bringing homecoming queen vote, I was like, what? That's ridiculous. She's going to jail for that. Like, oh, that's dumb. But then when you read it more
into the computer, you can't hack it into the, because it's like, okay, like if you're able to hack in for the homecoming like queen vote, you can hack in on people's schedules and grades,
social
and contact information,
numbers,
like know all their details. Like the mom took advantage of her role as like an administrator,
and for it to be homecoming, like that's the other thing. Like how like no offense, like congratulations to those who were, but like how insignificant. Like that's
okay. I wanted to be on homecoming court when I was in high school, but not this bad.
Yeah, I had I knew I wasn't going to be, so I had no desire, and like I just don't think it's like this is so over. This is like the definition of like overreacting. Yeah. Like you should never. And in the article, it also talks about how like she got found out because she was bragging about it. Also, see how stupid, like this girl, bless her heart.
Okay, if she was bragging about it, then how is she not guilty?
Well, okay, because like this in my head, this is my putting my lawyer hat on. I'm thinking. You could say like she was bragging about it because you know how kids like try to brag and like pretend like they're better than everyone. She's bragging about it, but her mother actually did it. She did not actually complete the act. That's what I'm guessing the lawyer would probably say. I don't know, but
you're in on it, like you're accomplice. Like
either way.
But hold on, but like okay, if a guy breaks into a bank and you have the getaway car, the guy in the getaway car is still gonna get charged for robbing the bank even though they didn't hold up the gun at the bank.
Okay, so to put it to this, yes, but it could totally have just been Like she had absolutely nothing to do about it. She just reaped the benefits. So like if your husband robs a bank and brings the money back and you don't know anything about it and you start using the money, you're not, well, no, but she knew about it. She was
Okay. Here's another one. Okay, I got another one.
Okay.
There's a documentary on HBO that I'm blanking on the name, but it's essentially about this woman, this mom who lived with her boyfriend who was dealing drugs out of their house, even though she had nothing to do with it. He was dealing drugs out of their house. She got sentenced to jail for 10 years.
Oh my God. I have no idea what I would do if something like that happened to me. And I had no idea. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up. Like it's a crazy story. I remember watching it.
It's a documentary.
Criminal justice reform. And what'd you say?
It's a documentary.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Then I'm definitely gonna have to watch that tomorrow.
Because it was talking about like criminal justice reform.
That's crazy. I cannot imagine being innocent and going to jail for somebody else. Like that's just not, I can't even fathom that. And like call me selfish, but that's just not something I'm going to do. Like don't commit a crime with me. I will squeal. Like I'll be, and this is her address. She has 2 dogs. Like don't commit a crime with me. I won't. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything more to the story while I'm looking up what this documentary is?
I mean, I just wanted to talk 10 seconds about it. Really, just I think it's crazy that she did all that just to be homecoming queen, and I think that also too, it is a good reminder of putting things in perspective. And I know I do this all the time. Like I make things a bigger deal than they actually are. And I feel like maybe that's what happened with this homecoming queen situation. So, you know, homecoming queen or like hacking a system that, and I feel like the mom had to have known that it was illegal.
You would think.
You would think, because I mean, this is a felony. Like it's not a misdemeanor. This is a felony. That's prison. I'm 98% sure it's prison. Like this isn't something you just kind of like, oh, la-di-da. Like, dude, like this is a real crime. But and also too, it also makes me think like, I wonder about this girl's upbringing, like consequences. Would this be her first time receiving consequences? Because it just doesn't, I don't know. I know for a fact she's not going to spend, I think it's up to 10 years. I know she's not going to spend 10 years. I'd be surprised if she spent any time in jail.
The mom or the daughter?
The daughter. I'd be surprised if she spent any time in jail. I think the mom might go to jail out of making her an example, like what they did to Lori Loughlin. You know, Laughlin? Not Loughlin, Loughlin, yeah. Like what they did to Lori Loughlin. But I think it would just be, I don't think the daughter's going to go to jail at all.
Really?
That's just my prediction, yeah. And if she does, it'd be like a year, 2 years max. It's definitely not going to be 10. Because also, too, the reality is, like, she's probably going to go up there. And, I mean, I know I would, too. Cry, say how sorry she is, and she really could be sorry. I know I would be sorry if this were me. So she really could be sorry, but she's gonna be, play up the fact that she's a woman, and we have women privilege in some things, and I'm sure she's gonna get like some sort of sympathy. She's not gonna be there for 10 years for sure.
Yeah. I just don't get why people do what they do sometimes. It's just crazy. I have not found what it's called yet. Ugh, it's driving me crazy. All right, well, we'll get into the next story, and if I find it, I will let you know.
Okay.
I don't remember what it's called. Okay. Our last story, Representative Cori Bush scorched for referring to women as birthing people. Bush shared a video of the hearing to her Twitter page with the caption, "Every day, Black birthing people and our babies die because our doctors don't believe our pain. My children almost became a statistic. I almost became a statistic. I testified about my experience at the Oversight Dems today. Hear us, believe us, because for so long, nobody housed us. I'll let you speak on this, but my only thing is because she said birthing people, it completely lost what she was trying to say and the whole talking about like the black birthing rates. And it's like it's awful. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a good statistic. But because she
Terrifying
said
as a black person. Continue. As a black birthing person.
yeah, like the black birth rate is not good, but the fact that she said birthing people just lost complete like
it completely
lost
overshadowed
meaning.
her point.
Yeah, it like lost her point completely.
Which, okay, so
as a black birthing person, here you go.
As a black birthing person,
as a black birthing person,
like you said, it completely lost the purpose of this.
I found it. It's called The Sentence.
The Sentence. Okay.
That's what it's called. Okay. So it's a documentary about film from Rudy Valdez, chronicles aftermath of his sister's incarceration and the consequences of mandatory minimum sentences. So,
okay.
Yeah. So she got like 15 years because she lived in the house and because I think a lot of it, and it goes into detail in the documentary, but I believe my understanding is her boyfriend, like I think he died or something, and so they needed to blame someone. They blamed her. But the crazy thing is like, okay, this was like the boyfriend, and she got charged like 10 years later. That was the thing. By this time, she had already married, had 3 kids, just had a baby. And then got charged.
That almost sounds like something similar that happened to Piper from that awful show that was really good with Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Because Piper, her situation didn't happen until she had moved on. Her life was
and that was the thing is like like the woman made some bad decisions, but she had like a bad boyfriend. Like I don't think she was doing the drugs or anything. And it was so like I remember that was like a Republican event we had up here with criminal justice reform. And it was so moving.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry. It's called The
Sentence. No. That's good. So everybody, we should all watch The Sentence.
Okay, so back to black birthing people.
Yeah, so and I partially think the birthing people was to make was to do this, was to get us to talk about it. And girl, we are talking about it. Mm-hmm. I think that was part of it, just to get us to talk about it, because she knew that would get people upset. Because I mean, it is upsetting. I think about, so I want us to start doing more episodes on this topic in general about how unique and beautiful we women are. And this, honestly, like we could even do like a random series, like Tuesday's episode you guys are going to love, and we talk about how unique and beautiful and how different women are and how we can only carry children. Men cannot. There is no way. And like stripping away the label of woman from something like that, from something that only women can do, is degrading. Like, and also too, the other thing I just keep thinking is like, I don't consider myself a feminist, but I just feel like
I consider myself a feminist of like DOG feminist.
Yeah.
Of just like, wanting equality.
What I'm about to say is gonna sound very feminist. Like I just wanted to qualify it though. But like the half of me makes me kind of feel like dang, we can't get anything. Like maybe the feminists are right. Like men take everything. Like that's how I feel when I hear like we can't even have birthing. Like it's men want to take it. And like the statistic is like, just a side note, I've seen that and like I try not to pay attention to that because like as a black birthing person, that's terrifying. But I do want to point out, I do think some of it has to do with like the quality of hospitals. And I think hospitals in like lower income areas don't have the same type of quality as like higher income areas. So I'm not saying that like, people should just go to the higher. Well, I mean, I guess that is what I'm saying. You should go to a better hospital.
So
like when you do it.
So you don't think it's because I feel like Grey's Anatomy claims it's the doctors being racist is why we have these high birthing, like the horrible birthing rate.
Well, I So I don't necessarily think that the doctors are inherently racist. I think that sometimes a doctor could like you could say, I am in this. So what they're talking about basically is like, you give birth and then like there's like something's off, and then you're telling your doctor, they're like, no, you're fine, or like they underestimate like she's
Because I
saying it's
think
a
like
8, but
Serena
really it's a
Williams.
5. Yeah.
So I think like Serena Williams was saying like what she had like internal bleeding, or her placenta didn't get delivered completely.
Yeah.
And she was like complaining, and they're like, oh no, like there's nothing wrong with you.
Right. And I don't necessarily know if, like, I don't necessarily know if that's racism so much as like being a jerk. But I do think that inherently sometimes like the reality is like we sometimes you can, I'm just trying to figure out how to say this. I feel like maybe sometimes a doctor, because they've had experiences with so many people of a similar, not just like race, but just so many similar cases, and they kind of rely off of that information. So what I mean is like, let's say you're telling your doctor that your pain is at like an 8, and they're like, well, I know that a lot of times these women complain and it's really at a 5, and I just don't have time to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to ignore their request. Like, I think that could be a thing. Yeah. So I'll just say that. I have a friend though that she's white, and she ended up having like a stroke because she told her, yeah, terrifying. And she was like, I think we were like 24, 23, 24 when she had her baby, and she had like told her doctor like that she maybe I wonder if she'd come on and tell the story. She told the doctor that she wasn't feeling or something like that, and they just gave her something else. And they kind of like low key, I could be wrong, but from the vibe I got is they were kind of like, okay, girl. And then she ended up having like a stroke, and like it was just like this horrible, awful thing. So I think that is definitely is a thing because of human error, and that's just once again part of being in a fallen world. And I do think that it is quite possible that Black women could be could have their problems could be the worst. I think that is definitely possible, but to brush stroke it as just this person is just super racist, I wouldn't say that. I would say like, you know what, maybe they've had an experience with people that are very similar, and then now they're using that experience to justify X, Y, and Z.
I do feel like when we blame racism, it's just that's it. Like there's no more looking into it. Okay, like
right.
Oh, they're just racist.
Right.
Okay, well, keep digging. Is there something more to it? Why are they racist? Why are they treating Black women like this? Instead of just saying, oh, they're racist.
Right. And that's what I like to do. Like whenever anyone brings me up or like, oh, this is right, I like to like analyze it, because a lot of things that we call racist are just pure ignorance or a misunderstanding. Like it's not just, and if you just say that's racist and then move on, then you can't discuss how to make it better. Like,
yeah, you're not teaching people like,
no.
If you just say, oh, that's racist, they're not going to learn how to change their habits, even if they were being racist. If you just say, oh, they're racist, how are they going to learn?
And some people just legitimately don't know that X, Y, and Z is inappropriate. Like there's been many a time I've been around like older people, and they just have made comments, and I'm like, well, first of all, if you're older, I typically am just like, and move on. But like some people just really don't know, and they won't know unless you tell them. Yep. So like I think that just doing a broad stroke of this, they're just straight up racist doesn't help. Like if you really want to, because this is a problem. Like if people are dying at childbirth, childbirth, first of all, is an amazing, like it's an actual miracle. So that's the first thing. Until my friends started having babies, I feel like I did not understand how much of a miracle and how like intense it is. So that's the first thing. And if people are dying, like we should not be dying in 2021. So if people are dying, that's a serious thing. So it's something we need to get to the bottom of, and like painting just a broad stroke of like everybody that's ever done anything is racist. Like that doesn't help. Like what helps is discussing, okay, why is this an issue? Okay, how do we fix this? Do we need to discuss maybe making sure that like you take every person, like try your best, try your hardest to take every person for their word.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's something. And also too, that goes to like being an advocate for yourself. And like, this is something that everyone, Black, white, Asian, everybody should do this. Like when you go to the doctor and stuff, you need to be an advocate for yourself. You need to, like, if something's not right, you need to say something. And I read somewhere, like, if you want them to do a test and they refuse to, you need to make them sign papers saying that they refuse to take a test, something like that. Like, you fight for you. Nobody is, like, you just got to fight for you.
Yep.
But anyway, so we're going to wrap it up with our Conservative Woman Spotlight. And it is once again brought to you by our favorite, Culture of Life 1972. You can head over to www.col1972.com. Use the code THOSEOTHERGIRLS1972 and get 10% off of your purchase. And then 100% of your purchase is going to go to pro-life causes. It is an amazing organization. It's an amazing store. This necklace that I'm wearing, I got from there. And then I have another necklace and 2 dresses on the way that I'm really excited about. One of the dresses I'm going to wear to something like super fancy I'm super excited. They have the cutest stuff, and you get 10% off with Those Other Girls 1972 if you use the code. So this week's Conservative Woman Spotlight we actually posted about it Thursday night. Amy Robbins, she is the creator of Alexo Athletica, which is a sportswear brand. They have leggings that's for concealed carry. But she was featured in Forbes, and I think that is amazing. The biggest reason I think that's amazing is because you don't hear too much about like stuff like that, like conservative women doing things like that, being featured in something like Forbes, partially because they aren't typically like, I don't know. I just really love when conservative people get recognition outside of the conservative bubble. And we just really wanted to highlight that. Congratulations. I don't know if you listen to the podcast. I know you follow our Instagram. But if you listen, congratulations. That is amazing. I think that it's just congratulations to get that. And like everyone should go head over to her website and follow her on Instagram, Amy Robbins, and order some cute leggings. Like they have like jogging leggings, and the story is in the article, and like the story is very moving. Hopefully we'll have her on the podcast one day. She can like share the story verbally, but I think it's just, I really wanted her to be the spotlight because I love that. And I've said this before and I'm going to keep saying it. Famous conservatives are known for being famous conservatives. Liberals are known for being famous for their art. We need to do better by being famous for our art. We need to do better, and we need to try to get ourselves out there, which is another reason now that I'm saying this out loud. Like, I really do want us to maybe see if we can get like a debate going between like a super liberal leftist person and someone who's like super right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be like, I don't know. I think that'd be good. But anyway, ladies, thanks everyone for listening. This has been a long episode, but I think it's been a good one. Thank you for listening the whole way through. Yeah, please make sure you rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, tell everybody you know, donate, get a purchase from Culture of Life 1972. Anything else?
I don't think so. You guys have a great weekend.
Yes, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.